Hi, good afternoon. My name is Baylor Rice. I'm one of the pharmacists and owner here at South River Compounding Pharmacy. So welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar on sleep and really how we can try to achieve 8 hours. So we are recording today. Everybody should be muted. There is a chat feature in the window there for you. So if you scroll, you can find chat. So if you have any questions or comments, you can type that in there. You can type it so everybody can see it, or you can send that just directly to me. However you'd like and prefer is absolutely fine. Couple of disclaimers I'll let you read through. Certainly we don't send our slides or information to FDA for them to review prior to any presentations, nor afterwards. So this is certainly coming from us. So to start easy this afternoon, for the new folks that are joining with us, and typically our sleep and anxiety webinars and seminars are generally fairly well attended and watched afterwards. A little bit for the new folks about South River Compounding Pharmacy. We are a compounding only pharmacy. So that is the mixing or making from scratch. And we were the first modern day compounding only pharmacy in Virginia. We are accredited by ACHC/PCAB. We also specialize in natural medicine. And again, we're Virginia's first natural medicine pharmacy. So we do a lot with vitamins, minerals, nutrients, herbals, homeopathics, very much your East meets West. And so that's what we'll be talking a lot about today is supplements and how we can utilize herbals and nutrients to help with the sleep and sleep cycle. We also offer personalized consultations. So that's getting together, setting time up. We do those both in person as well as virtually, and go over family history, personal history, any particular labs, lifestyle, diet, exercise, etc., and come up with a very specific protocol, as I've been trained in functional medicine and integrative approaches, so how we can best get at what we need to for you. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into today's topic of sleep. So 60 million Americans suffer or have some sort of sleep issue. Certainly that can be characterized by a whole bunch of different things, but certainly it's that burning the candle at both ends. And certainly during this COVID time that we've all been experiencing here this past year plus, stress levels have gone to certainly an all-time high, and that's certainly impacting sleep quite a bit. So that can be from difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, waking up sleepy, daytime drowsiness, waking up, going to the bathroom, zoning out in the middle of things, affecting our emotional liability, altered judgment, memory, clumsy, more difficult, slower reaction times, affecting concentration and focus. So sleep impacts a whole host of things. So it's more than just, I'm a little tired. Certainly there are work performance to social performance, exercise performance, etc. Certainly there are a whole host of commonly prescribed sleep medications for sleep disorders. However, most of these are going to disrupt performance as well as have an addiction potential. Some of the many common ones are benzodiazepine-like medications, both flurazepam, zolpidem, temazepam, triazolam, diazepam, alprazolam, certainly the list goes on. So gut health and sleep, are they related? Certainly the $90 million question. And the answer is absolutely. The gut-brain axis is certainly a two-way communication. So not only can those little critters in the gut influence health, but also mental and emotional state of a person can impact that microbiome. So really when what keeps us up at night? Certainly, is it the lure of social media, the temptation of clicking the next episode, or the stress of an important meeting the next day? Well, there's lots of different reasons for this, and we're going to go over many this afternoon, but certainly the gut is, of course, one of them. And when you look at the data and the many reasons from the Centers of Disease Control, adults need about 7 or more hours of sleep each night to support overall health. And an estimated 35.2% of adults get less than 7 hours of sleep per night, which is also known as short sleep duration. So a lack of sleep has the potential to negatively impact both mental and physical health. So some of these causative factors certainly can be exposure to light, electronic media and usage, caffeine consumption late at night, and some are even very sensitive, certainly having caffeine later in the afternoon too. And then there's the other group that can have, a shot of espresso at bedtime and still sleep just fine. So habits, but certainly one of these culprits for causing sleep disturbances certainly is the gut. What is known about sleep in the gut? Results of the study have shown that the microbiome diversity and richness were associated with better sleep efficiency and longer sleep times at night. Having more diversity and richness in the microbiome was also associated with fewer arousals, or rather less interrupted sleep throughout the night. So really, the science of gut health and sleep is still emerging, but this recent study is really able to dig a little bit deeper into the relationship between the microbiome and sleep quality. So they looked at 40 healthy men who wore an Active Watch, and which is basically a fancy smartwatch for 30 days. The watch collected information on the men's sleep patterns, such as exactly when they went to bed, when they woke up in the morning, and how efficiently they slept, and the number of times they woke up throughout the night. Stool samples were also collected to measure microbiome richness and diversity. So, the species of bacteria that they have. So the results in the study is what showed that, yes, this was impacted, which is really pretty cool, I think. So the key takeaway here is not only the study provides insight into how the microbiome diversity may influence sleep patterns in people. As many previous studies were done in animals, other human studies have shown that short-term sleep deprivation may change the makeup of the microbiome. This further emphasizes that two-way communication between the gut and the brain. So not only does the gut health have the potential to impact sleep in the brain, but poor sleep may negatively impact the microbiome. So certainly more research is needed on this, but certainly this is very cool and very neat. So what can we do to help promote a microbiome, both with diversity of with microbes as well as a richness and density? Eating a varied diet, right? So the more diverse our diet, typically the better. So we tend to gravitate towards the Mediterranean style diet at South River. And, so lots of colors of the rainbow, more fruits and veggies. So lean protein like fish, nuts, beans. Eat a very fibrous, rich diet. So, if you're eating the diet I discussed above with plant-based foods, lean meats, then inherently the fiber content should be higher. Now, side note, those of us that are, 45, 50 above, we really need to be eating 30 grams of fiber a day. So certainly fiber is going to be beneficial to that gut flora. Also eating fermented foods. So you may say, well, what are fermented foods? Those are things like yogurt and kefir and kimchi, kombucha, Those often contain live beneficial microorganisms, which can be beneficial to that intestinal health. So how can we track it? Certainly there's a number of ways that we can track our sleep, both from watches and sleep apps and different things like that. So, most adults need about 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night for optimal health. For me, I target 8 for my patients, and maybe you're well within that, but maybe you're not getting deep sleep. So you certainly, there are 2 types of sleep we experience in a typical night. One is rapid eye movement sleep and non-REM sleep, which consists of 3 stages, and each stage is linked to different brain waves and neuronal activity. One stage in particular is associated with deep sleep, and a key part of feeling well rested and getting a healthy amount of that shut eye, right? So waking up and feeling recharged for the next day. So what are the stages of sleep? Over the course of a standard night, we generally begin by going through the stages of non-REM sleep before moving into a short period of REM sleep. Then the cycle repeats until we've gotten a full night's rest. During REM sleep, our eyes typically are going to move more rapidly from side to side with the eyelids closed. This is where dreams typically occur during REM sleep. However, we don't reach the state where we doze off, right when we doze off. And generally, it takes about 90 minutes. So first, we cycle through the phases of non-REM sleep, including deep sleep, and then these phases kind of happens as follows. So stage 1 is marking the time you fall asleep. This short stage generally will last 5 to 10 minutes. It consists of light sleep during which your heart rate, your breathing, your eye movements are fairly slow. Then your muscles become more relaxed, perhaps with occasional twitch. Your brain waves are relatively slow. Stage 1 sleep isn't particularly deep. You're more prone to waking up during this time. Then this goes into stage 2, is the period of light sleep before you enter deep sleep. At this stage, your heart rate, didn't mean to go forward here. Your heart rate and breathing gets slower, your body temperature lowers, your muscles continue to relax, and eye movements typically begin to stop at this point. Stage 2 includes only a brief spells of electrical activity. That said, since it's meant to prepare you for deep sleep, you spend more time here than in any other non-REM sleep stage. Stage 2 typically is going to account for about 50% of the overall sleep cycle. Then we get into stage 3, which represents deep sleep. So this is also known as delta wave sleep, slow wave sleep, N3 sleep. It's the phase that accounts for you feeling rested in the morning. So this is the restorative sleep. This is what's going to help take that piece off the adrenals. This is where we're going to recharge. Your heart rate and breathing slow to the lowest levels you'll see all night. Your muscles continue to relax. Your brain waves get even slower. It's well worth noting that it's difficult to rouse a person from deep sleep. If someone were to be awoken during this time, you might feel disoriented for a bit. Deep sleep may last anywhere from 45 to 90 minutes initially. It takes place for a longer period of time early in the night and becomes shorter as you progress through the sleep cycle. Overall, the cycle accounts for roughly 13 to 24% of our overall total sleep. So what are the benefits of deep sleep? So deep sleep is crucial, certainly, to our health. So this is our glucose metabolism increases in the brain during stage 3 sleep, which strengthens our memory capacity for learning. In addition, the pituitary gland, which is linked to growth and development, among other functions, is very active during this part of the sleep cycle. So things that happen here, the tissue regeneration, bone growth, muscle growth, helping to support that immune system, energy restoration, new cell growth, helping with blood supply. Likewise, not getting enough deep sleep or an extended period can be detrimental to our health. So insufficient stage 3 is going to be linked to negative effects to the brain, the heart, the overall body. So getting enough deep sleep is going to boost both our psychological effects, help with our mood, helping with our energy. So this is really where we want to get. So how can we track it? As we age, we tend to, sleep lighter and get less sleep. This is just kind of part of it. However, we can still do our part in tracking the amount of that delta wave sleep we achieve each night and working towards the amount of deep sleep we need to feel refreshed. Waking up in the morning, how many of us used to be able to wake up without an alarm clock, and now it's, snooze, 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 right? When it comes to tracking that deep sleep, you do have several options that you can look at. So one of which is apps, right? We all, have a smartphone these days, right? So whichever one you like, whatever works for you, there's certainly an app for that. Certainly, are these going to be perfect? The answer is no, right? But at least it gives you an idea. And typically you're going to want it on the mattress so that it can detect your movement. It does that by sonar. There are a number of different sleep apps out there. Play around with them, see which one works best for you. So again, the key there is the phone typically is going to need to be on the bed so it can get your movement versus on your nightstand or in a drawer or somewhere else. Now, side note with that, typically I tell people, put the computers away at night, put the phones away at night. Don't be doing that. That's going to affect the blue light. That's going to be affecting the sleep. So yes, we do want to turn them off at night. We don't want to be on them. We don't want to get the brain going. But certainly using them to monitor our sleep, certainly that is a thought. Otherwise, using the portable wearable devices, the Fitbit, Apple Watch, again, not perfect, but they can certainly monitor the heart rate while you sleep as well. They can track it. They can give you an idea of your efficiency and quality of sleep. There's also now sleep beds, also different sleep sensors that you can use. Again, giving you additional data. Again, I'm a scientist, so at heart, so data to me is a good thing. Out there with these things that we're mentioning, again, none of them are absolutely perfect. They all have their positives and negatives, but again, it gives you an idea, right? So to look and think about, why in the world am I waking up at 3 a.m.? So it is one of those things. It does keep happening. You wake up at 3 in the morning, while sleep experts recommend waking up at the same time each day. Surely waking up at 3 a.m. is not what they have in mind. So as the rest of the world slumbers, and getting their golden hours, you're waking up and saying, hey, your body's telling you to start your day. So if that's happening, otherwise kind of known as the witching hour, right? Many people call it that. You're certainly not alone. There's a lot of people doing that. There are some things that we can work on to kind of help with that to some extent. So part of that is certainly sleep hygiene basics, limiting that blue light, watching the caffeine, eating, not eating right before bed, not exercising before bed, having a cool, dark sleep environment, managing your stress. And we'll talk more about stress in just a bit. So those are some of the things that we're going to need to adjust. So it's more than just a nuisance, certainly, but it is, again, disrupting that sleep cycle. It's also affecting our hunger hormones. So, that can be affecting that waistline. That can be affecting the ability to be able to lose weight, which we'll also discuss in just a little bit. So, and we want to think about too, are you waking up because of pain? Are you waking up because of stiffness? Again, there can be a multitude of reasons, and that's why sometimes we need to kind of set up a consult and kind of go through and check off the list and see what's specifically going on with you. But certainly our as far as it being an ancestral thing, our pre-industrial ancestors slept much differently than we do today. They didn't have artificial light. They would sleep more in sync without the rising and setting of the sun. That's how they would do it. They would go to bed when the sun set, they would wake up when the sun rose. So that certainly has changed through time. And also, many times you can look and say, well, in part of history, we can look and they slept twice. They followed the body's rhythm, so that the first sleep and the second sleep. So is that 3 a.m. for some of us, kind of when the ancestors woke up and did some things and then went back to bed? Question mark. Don't know, right? But that certainly is a theory that's out there. Sleep cycle. A normal sleep pattern begins with about 4 to 4.5 hours of a deep sleep stage. So during this stage, which is also known as the rapid eye movement, REM stage, the brain is more active. So while it's normal to wake up several times every night, most awakenings are really too brief to remember. So it's unless this thing is happening in the lighter stage and becoming more frequent, then we need to be kind of thinking about it. The TCM body clock, so the traditional Chinese medicine body clock concept, really shed some light on how energy moves the body's meridians and organs over a 24-hour time cycle. So because of the mind-body emotion interconnection central in Chinese medicine, these patterns reflect not only the health of each organ, but also emotions tied to this given organ. So in this model, every 2 hours, energy is strongest within a particular organ and its functionality. So the period between 1 to 3 is showtime, for instance, for the liver and its metabolic activity. So given that the liver is a major organ for detoxification, an episode of excess alcohol or a general toxic overload on the liver could be triggering that 3 a.m. wake-up call. So perhaps that's why in some people that we need to be thinking about, why are they waking up? Do we need to do some sort of detox? Do we need to look at what exposures you have and going on? So another, of course, is hormones. Are you menopausal? For us guys, are you andropausal? Are you waking up with hot flashes, night sweats? These hormonal imbalances can certainly affect the sleep disturbances. Now, part of this can be because the liver, which is metabolizing the hormones, are they overloaded, and the sluggish liver is not taking care of the hormones properly? Again, that kind of goes back to some Chinese medicine piece. But certainly, if you're a woman and your estradiol is 5, where normally we're going to target for a, menopausal woman somewhere between 50 and 75, it makes sense why you're waking up hot. For us guys, we need to maintain that testosterone above 569. And likewise, we want that estradiol for us in the 20s. So as we age, we tend to drop the testosterone. More of that gets converted into estrogen, and that estrogen goes up, therefore giving us a whole lot of different symptoms. Blood sugar. So, right, that's the workhorse that it is. The liver is our body's blood sugar warehouse manager, if you will, converting that glucose to the bloodstream into glycogen for storage. So, the liver breaks down the glycogen, releasing it to the circulation during fasting periods such as sleep, right? But even during sleep, the brain is still the body's primary consumer of glucose. So, and if in the wee hours of the morning the liver's glycogen supplies run low, this brain, right, that then is craving and sensing I need more fuel, since cortisol is a messenger to get production back on track, and boom, then that spike in the cortisol when you shouldn't be necessarily having that, all of a sudden, boom, can wake us up. And then often small amounts of carbs, such as honey, for instance, is a simple remedy to some of these hunger pains. But this is also why some people will, again, wake up at that 3 a.m. and grab a snack. So certainly if that's going on, we need to have further discussions of why. So as we've kind of gone through, there's really a whole variety of different reasons why we could be waking up at that 3 a.m. time. So lack of sleep may be affecting weight gain. So, if you're trying to maintain a healthy weight, counting the sheep, may be as important as counting the carbs or counting how many reps you're doing in the gym. So certainly weight is is I refer a lot of times, it should be a simple physics equation, energy in, energy out. However, metabolically, it gets much more complex than that. So we do want to be thinking about sleep. And if you're sleep deprived, more sleep may actually help you reach those weight goals. So, what do you need to know about that sleep weight connection? So, are you sleep deprived? So the National Sleep Foundation recommends, as I mentioned earlier, 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night for adults, typically 24 to 64. Certainly less than 24, slightly more for younger adults, and perhaps those that are older and above 64 maybe not needing quite as much. So it's not just you. If you're sleep deprived and you find yourself battling the bulge, you're in good company. Studies have found consistency over time, again, that the sleep weight connection, sleep deficiency is linked to weight gain. So the largest study of its kind had over about 200 participants and simulated a sleep restricted work week. It compared the effects of restricting sleep to only 4 hours per night compared to unrestricted sleep up to 10 hours per night. So what they found, after only 5 days, the sleep restricted subjects had gained about 2 pounds. In contrast, the control group, which was allowed to sleep up to 10 hours a night, gained virtually no weight. So that's one reason why I preach every single day to my patients. I want you, our goal is to get you 8 hours of straight sleep, uninterrupted sleep. Okay. So if sleep restriction can cause you to gain pounds and 2 pounds in just 5 days, think about what it can do over a long term, right? So a lot. So according to women tracked for 16 years in the Nurses' Health Study, women reporting 6 hours of sleep per night were 12% more likely to gain at least 30 pounds during the study compared to women who slept 7 hours per night. But those women who were even more sleep deprived, reporting no more than 5 hours per night, were 28% more likely to gain at least 30 pounds during that same period. So, definitely that sleep weight connection, absolutely every hour counts. So how does sleep equals being less thin? There's several underlying factors behind the sleep weight connection, but a common thread is our own chemistry, which almost seems to revolt when restorative sleep is intentionally or unintentionally withheld. So it's really you against them, and certainly it's not a fair fight, right? We're all called in a variety of ways, right? I mean, personally, I have 6 kids, married, I've got dogs, I've got business going on, I've got a lot of stuff, I've got a lot of responsibilities. So still at that, I work very hard to make sure I'm in bed and I'm giving myself the ability to try to get 8 hours of straight sleep. Now, does that happen every single night? Absolutely not. But certainly I try. So getting to know your hunger chemistry. So there's more than your sensation of fullness and stomach-brain communication involved here when it gets complicated between you and really the sleep piece. It says messengers that are really not on your side. So to talk about a couple of them, one, certainly ghrelin. Ghrelin is known as the hunger hormone. It's released from the stomach. It sends your brain a feed me signal, right? It signals not only when to eat, but also when to switch from burning calories to storing those calories as fat. So ghrelin naturally decreases after a meal and it remains lower while you sleep. So when caloric needs are less, but less sleep means less ghrelin, right? So there's part of that connection. Another one to think about, the opposite to that, is leptin. So leptin is really the satiety hormone, and it plays a crucial role in that appetite and weight control. So certainly it's released from fat cells. Leptin crosses the blood-brain barrier and signals, hey, we're all good here. right? We don't need any more food. Put the fork down. We got fine. But, and it also helps stimulate the fat burning to create the energy. Leptin levels certainly natural increase after a meal and remain elevated while you sleep until certainly you awaken, and your metabolism increases. However, but less sleep means less leptin, right? So now the light bulb's going off, right? So sleep's affecting the ghrelin, sleep's affecting that leptin piece too. So that's going to affect, how you feel hungry, how you're satiated, how you're burning the fuel. So very important. And there can be something called over time, um, when you're secreting the leptin and we're not getting the signal, leptin resistance. So that can mean that we've got an underlying insulin resistance. So that pulls back to the blood sugar piece, folks. So then we need to look at that and think about that, which can lead to certainly obesity as well as metabolic syndrome and even potentially diabetes long term. So lots going on. So there certainly is that balance. Endocannabinoids, right? So there's another one. Now, one endocannabinoid in particular, THC, tetrahydrocannabinoid. So for anyone that has smoked pot, marijuana, weed, Mary Jane, whatever you want to call it, or watched a Cheech and Chong movie or one of the movies, and somebody smokes or eats an edible and all of a sudden has the munchies, right? Well, that's really, I think, more the particular endocannabinoid as THC. And why do I see that? Because with cannabinoids from the hemp plant instead of marijuana, we typically see a proper balance of endocannabinoids actually helping with weight and weight control. So this does get certainly a little tricky there. So that would be one of, can I get the same benefits from smoking pot as I can with your CBD, Baylor? Well, CBD is going to be more likely to help you lose weight, whereas smoking a joint or eating edibles is going to be more likely to kind of trigger that hunger piece, right? On hey, I want to get the munchies and I want to eat something. What about, can we catch up? Baylor, I go like a banshee and I go during the week, and can I catch up on the weekend? For 1 out of 6 Americans sleeping less than 7 hours per night, a sleep debt may certainly feel normal. But similar to a financial debt, the real cost may not be immediately apparent and certainly is going to be damaging over time. So it is very costly to your body. Even a few nights of insufficient sleep can leave you feeling sleepy, again, slower reaction times, foggy thinking, decreased performance, affecting mood, disrupting how our body is working. And the effects of this long-term sleep deprivation can certainly lead to negative health consequences. So, a study was done. Extra weekend shut-eye is a coveted treasure for many of those sleep deprived. It does make many feel better. Can those extra hours reverse the health risk of sleeping poor Monday through Friday? And, studies have found that, yes, it can help with that piece, even over a short period of time. Sleep being off, as I mentioned earlier, can certainly affect the weight gain. So short-term catch-up can be helpful for paying back that sleep debt, but it shouldn't be the only strategy. We should be helping with overall lifestyle things, thinking about the caffeine, watching the electronics, making sure the room's the right temperature, watching the darkness, watching overall stress, relaxation, healthy sleep habits, certainly in general. So some sleep nutrients that can also help with that piece, certainly magnesium, taurine, B12, folic acid, B6. And you may be thinking, wow, B vitamins I thought kind of helped with energy, but the Bs are going to also help with neurotransmitter production and metabolism. So that's going to help us convert our neurochemistry, so get better usage of that. Also, melatonin certainly being produced by the pineal gland. That's affecting that circadian rhythm. That's affecting our time, our clock, when we should be going to bed, when we should be waking up. There's a variety of different sleep herbals, so from passion flower, hops, valerian, skullcap, the list goes on and on that piece. So what can we do? Certainly a couple issues there. Sleep hygiene. We need to make sure we're scheduling enough time. So for some folks that are going to bed at midnight, waking up at 5, I mean, come on. We either need to go to bed earlier or we need to wake up later. It's not rocket science, but it's working out your schedule. I get it. I get being busy. You've got to do it. It's affecting your health, right? We've got to get things under control. Limiting that caffeine, watching the blue light, kind of rescheduling some things, making sure we don't have heavy conversations before we go to bed, right? So stress, adrenals. So our adrenal glands, I want to spend a few minutes talking about the adrenals and stress. So our adrenal glands are processing the stress, and when we exceed our threshold for our stress tolerance, this is when things break down. This is when we see digestive issues, breathing difficulties, cardiovascular stuff, physical problems, emotional problems, mental, cognitive changes, and sleep disorders, right? So that's why the adrenals are absolutely huge, to make sure we're taking care of those guys. Side note, if you haven't watched our adrenal webinar, it should be on our YouTube channel. So you can go there and watch, an hour just on the adrenals themselves. I'm just hitting the highlights this afternoon, just so you're aware that yes, we do need to be paying attention, and there are things that we can do. So some common adrenal symptoms. So energy, fatigue, lack of energy, crashing in the afternoon, craving salty foods, craving sugars, craving carbs, exhausting easily, decreased sex drive, sensitive to weather changes, circles under eyes, wounds healing slowly, body sensitive to touch, puffy, swollen all over, mind racing at bedtime. And typically I ask this in the questionnaires we have, and I'll have all of these questions, and I'll have absent, mild, moderate, and severe. Now, granted, your severe is going to be different than my severe. Somebody else's moderate is going to be different from somebody else's. Get it, got it, understand it, right. But at least this gives you an idea. So, if you're checking these off here and checking them off kind of in this moderate, severe, we really need to look heavy at the adrenals. Or if you're even checking all of them off in the mild, we need to be really looking and thinking about the adrenals, right? Now, prior to COVID, I'd say probably 75% of people that came through my door were having some sort of adrenal dysregulation. This past year, plus with COVID, I'd say that number is well above 90%. We've got to be looking and thinking about the adrenals. The good news is there's a lot we can do to help support the adrenals, and our basics. This is what everybody should be doing every single day. A therapeutic multi, our phytonutrient multi, is a food-based multi with methylated Bs. So the Bs, as we spoke earlier, that's going to help with that neurochemistry, right? The antioxidants helping to help protect cellular health. Fish oils help on one side of the brain, talking to the other. CBD, the other basic also is vitamin D3, right? So those are the basics. That's what we should be on anyway, just to be healthy, right? Then if you're having a lot of adrenal stuff, depending, adrenal support or cortisol support, those are kind of my two first lines. Adrenal support more so if it's just energy. Adrenal if we also have kind of more anxiety, feeling overwhelmed, kind of thrown on, and also some decreased energy. Both of these are one twice a day. Both of them are what's called adaptogenic formulation. So no harm, no foul. They're going to help support adrenal function. Then we can add some extra L-theanine on board. L-theanine does a great job of balancing the norepinephrine and epinephrine. So that brain chemistry, feeling overwhelmed, focus, concentration, um, really pulling in with that. Our Tranquil formula, you know, I'm going to give two buzzwords here: stress or worry. If those are a big component, then we need to be thinking about Tranquil. You know, a whole lot of other things that we can use for the adrenals. I'm not going to go through all of those, just so you know, we really kind of fine tune it depending what somebody has going on. Sometimes we will stack and use multiple things. By no means am I sitting here and saying, hey, if you've got adrenal dysregulation, you need to take all of that. That's not what I'm saying at all. Okay. And again, we've got this slide to kind of give you some buzzwords, kind of occasionally stressed range, just either the L-theanine or cortisol support, stressed and wired, our stress support or cortisol support, our worried piece in there, tranquil, stressed, mentally fatigued, either cortisol support or exhilarant, stressed and tired, adrenal support, and then kind of inflamed, hot. So really, I only use the licorice if I have a salivary cortisol level, right? And I mentioned salivary. Why? Because blood really doesn't tell us squat with this. Blood test on cortisol is a single spot in time. The normals are huge. I want to look at what your cortisol is before breakfast, before lunch, before dinner, before bedtime. There should be this diurnal pattern with regards to cortisol. So I don't use licorice unless I know this level is low, right? You may be flatlined, you may just be down, you may be half or a third or a quarter of where we want it. Um, so don't just go on licorice to, hey, you know, I want to put more gas in the gas tank. No, that's where we'd either use adrenal support or cortisol support. So to go a little bit more into the neurochemistry, right, and in our neurotransmitters, that's affecting our mood, our cognitive function, sleep, anxiety. These are chemical messengers that regulate the physical and emotional processes, including, you know, the stress response, emotions, energy, our sugar carb cravings, pain, and lots more. So we can measure this. This is a urine test. So we do have this at the pharmacy. So, you know, it's something that you get a kit, take it home, do it in the comfort of your own home. It's got FedEx already with it. Send it off. We get the results back in 2 to 3 weeks. So if again, when we pull this in is depending on the severity of what's been going on or how long. You know, if you've been dealing with something for a long time, had severe stuff, then yeah, let's look at more data, right? Let's look at possibly the salivary cortisol as well as the neurotransmitter levels. And this kind of have on here to kind of give you the appreciation for the neurotransmitter pathways. I'm certainly not going to go through all of this afternoon, but you know, the bees are hitting a lot of this, right? Methylation also is hitting a lot of this. So when I speak of methylation, methylation has to do with about 350 chemical pathways in the body. That's why I really like the phytonutrient multi with the methylated bees on board. Okay, L-theanine, I did want a specific slide on this. I love L-theanine. It's derived from the green tea leaf. It's non-addictive, non-goofy, non-loopy. Works really well. It balances an awful lot of this neurotransmitter pathway piece, right? It also helps to work as a GABA agonist. It's an antagonist on the glutamate receptors. It can modulate serotonin, dopamine, GABA. Really, it balances, it does a great job of balancing the norepinephrine, epinephrine. So that parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system. So I'll give you a visual on this. So kind of taking that weight off the shoulders. So if we do that, we can help get a better focus on the task at hand. I use it for kids as low as 3 years old. I'll use it for granny at 103. It's very safe. I use it for kitty cats, puppy dogs. So, you know, thunderstorms, separation anxiety for those guys. Works well. I like L-theanine an awful lot. Um, Endocrine system in general, right? So sleep. mentioned the pineal gland and secreting the melatonin. We mentioned a little bit about hormonal balance. I just mentioned about the the adrenals, but also, certainly the thyroid. So hormones and hormone balance and or imbalances can certainly affect it. We mentioned certainly the gut today. We mentioned the liver and detoxification. So it really pulls back to a lot with the endocrine system and making sure this whole thing is balanced. So in functional medicine, this is what we look at. My brain's very much kind of this multi-dimensional thing, looking at multiple levels at the same time and simultaneously trying to balance this piece. So I did want to have on here, looking at, if you're female, let's look at some sex hormones. For men, looking at sex hormones. Ideally, when do we want to look at that? If you're 35 and above, right? It's peak. Sex hormones are peaked at 35. After that, it's downhill. We tend to joke and kid that's 50 and it's downhill. Well, guess what? Sex hormones after 35, it's downhill, folks, right? So looking at these can give us a window into what's going on from the hormonal perspective and how much of that is impacting sleep and our health and our energy and our mood. The list goes on. Again, we've got webinars on both sex hormones for women, sex hormones for men. They should be on our YouTube channel. If you can't find them, give us a call, pop us an email. We can send you a direct link to them. Thyroid, and I've got this here because typically, if you go into your doc and say, hey, I want to have a thyroid panel, typically American medical standard is let's look at what's called a TSH with a reflex T4, right? I want to see a full, if you're having thyroid symptoms, if you're having thyroid issues, I want to look at a full thyroid panel. I want to look at free T3, free T4, reverse T3, TPO, thyroid antibodies, ferritin, and also vitamin D if those haven't been done recently. Why? Ferritin and vitamin D can affect how that T3 binds at the receptor level. So all this stuff can be normal, but those guys can be off still kind of giving us those thyroid symptoms. If your doc won't order these labs for you, you can go to our website, click the services tab, and under that you'll see the Ultra Lab tab, which gives you the ability to order your own labs at about an 83% off discount off a typical retail. Again, for adrenals, look at it salivary wise, looking at cortisol. We can also look at DHEA with the cortisol as well. So, and a key thing here, right? Labs detect disease, not optimal function. So it's tying this in. So it's with all of these, you'll have this normal kind of level, but I'll target that up. So don't just have them drawn and say, oh, well, I fell within normal, I'm okay. That must not be it. No, we need to go over that with you because I've really narrowed up these normal levels in where is optimal. So some dietary guidelines, especially with regards to helping to break the stress cycle. Protein-rich breakfast. Ideally, we want to get 15 grams of protein in the morning. Low glycemic, whole foods, real foods, right? Peanuts, apple, carrots, pretty much singular, not potato chips, not ho-hos, ding-dongs. We want real foods. Look at the packaging. The package insert on it, or, the thing should be what it is, right? Small, frequent meals, finding those new comfort foods, eating as organic as possible, trying to pull out the trans fats, trying to eliminate refined sugar, and stay away from those artificial sweeteners, right? Lots of water. We should take your weight and divide it by half, right? So if you're 150 pounds, we want 75 ounces of water per day. Exercise, exercise, exercise. Cardio, I want to get that heart rate elevated, ideally 300 minutes per week. Bringing in some weight bearing, doing daily stretching, relaxing, breathing deep, doing something relaxing every day. Again, 8 hours of straight sleep. If you're not getting it, we need to talk. Everyone that knows it comes in South River, I'm a big stickler on quality. We deal with companies that are registered with the FDA, following good manufacturing practices, doing dissolution, disintegration, mass spectroscopy, liquid chromatography. I want to make sure it is what it is. And I also want to make sure it doesn't have things that shouldn't be in there, heavy metals, pesticides, herbicides, things like that. So baseline, I've already mentioned these just a little bit. Phytonutrient multi, we do have this as a tablet or capsules. Tablet, you are able to take less because they're able to compact it more. So typically 1 to 2 tablets a day. For the capsules, 2 to 3. Baylor, do I take 1? Do I take 2? Well, how big are you? Are you a petite female or are you a 250-pound male? Then go to more. And also, how stressed are you? How bad are things going on? If you're really stressed, decreased energy, then we're going to gear towards a higher number. Fish oil, omega-3 essential fatty acid. So soft gels or liquid, I don't care how you do it. The liquid is extremely clean. Slight fish taste. It's not going to be that nasty fishy. If you are burping up fish or whatever, then your quality is not good, or you don't have enough stomach acid to break it down. And we need to talk about the gut. Okay. Again, going back to the gut. Vitamin D, 5,000 IUs is a baseline. Certainly, I'll go higher with labs. But certainly great for the immune system, good for the bones, good for the brain, good for the mood. List goes on there. CBD, whether we do tincture, soft gels, or gummies, having that CBD on board, I generally, most of my patients are somewhere between about 20 to 60 milligrams per day. Do we go lower? Yes. Do I go higher? Yes. Again, I'm just trying to give you some general ranges. Generally start at about 15 milligrams and increase up until we hit the desired result. Or if you get daytime sleepiness, that's the sign that we need to back off the dose. So top picks for sleep. Our sleep support formula, it does have B6, magnesium, melatonin, some Ltheanine, passion flower, and valerian in it. Typically 1 to 3 capsules at bedtime. What do? Recommend starting with 1. Do that for a couple of nights. If that's working, why increase it? But if it's not, then go to 2. Do that for a few nights. If it works, hold there. If not, increase it to 3. Especially if you're that 2 to 3 a.m. person and you say, well, Baylor, I've tried melatonin before and it really didn't work. Well, typical, most of your melatonin is immediate release. Most of it or, sublingual. Melatonin CR5 is a biphasic melatonin. So it releases some initially, and then more later, hitting it at that 2 to 3 a.m. time works really well. Now, side effect for melatonin, right? Not everybody sees this, but if you get night terrors, some people can get bad dreams with melatonin. If you're one of those people, then avoid melatonin. Very simple. Avoid it if you get that. For some people, they just have vivid dreams, and I ask them, "Do you want to stop?" No, it's fun. It's cool. My grandfather used to drank orange juice before bed. Um, he was blind later in life, and he felt like orange juice made him dream in color, so he'd always do that. I always thought that was kind of cute. Now, do I have any science on that? No, but anyway. Boxley's organic nighttime formula. So this is a 25 milligram CBD. It's 5 different cannabinoids in it, plus terpenes, plus 3 milligrams of CBN, because CBN is more of a cannabinoid that's going to help with sleep, and also 3 milligrams of melatonin. So 1 soft gel at bedtime. Another thing to consider is magnesium glycinate. 75% of Americans are deficient in magnesium. Patients in pain. So if you're experiencing pain, that number goes to 95% of Americans that are deficient in magnesium. Okay. Now, magnesium glycinate is a more absorbable form of magnesium. It is easier on the gut than many others. We do have it as tablet. We have it as capsule. We even have it as a powder to dissolve. Typically, either 3 caps or 3 tabs is going to give you about 400 milligrams. For most people, 400 milligrams is the magic number. But you'll see I've got 1 to 6 tablets or capsules. Why? Start with 1. Do 1, work it up. Do I have some that go heavier? Absolutely. Some need more that are extremely deficient, and we'll push that higher. If your bowels become loose, then decrease the dose. That's another reason why I kind of escalate that up over time. Some additional support, as we discussed earlier, cortisol support, great adaptogenic for the adrenals, typically one with breakfast, one at lunch. Plus or minus that Ltheanine, if you're having really that mind racing, anxiety, feeling overwhelmed, then we can add in some Ltheanine. You can go up to 4 times a day on that. Mood support, so mood support, hence the name. If you've got some mild depression, if the mood's kind of down a little bit, some anxiety, this is a 5-HTP, so serotonin precursor in GABA combination, typically 1 to 2 at bedtime. As you get the sense, what do? I start with 1, do 1 for about 5-7 days. If that's great, working for you, stay there. If not, then we'll increase it to 2. Webinar special. So we do like giving you some different things to think about. $5 off our Boxley's Organic CBD Nighttime Formulation. We did recently just put that together a couple of months ago. Already we've had a bunch of people coming in for a refill for that. So that is working. So if you order online, you can use Night 5 as a coupon code, or certainly mention that when you come into the store. Or our South River Full Spectrum Hemp Oil, that is buy one, get one free. If you ordered online, Eric did create a SKU that is BOGO in there that you should be able to find, or certainly mention that when you're in the store, and we'll take care of that for you. So how do you get started? Certainly get going on the basics, right? You can add in and try some of these different things for sleep. I wish I had one formula. I could say, hey, this one formula is going to take care of sleep for every single person. As we went through today, sleep is very complex. It's much more complex than, hey, take this thing, take this benzodiazepine and let me knock out. It's a Band-Aid for a symptom, right? You're putting a Band-Aid on it. What we try to do is get more to the root cause, what's going on. Certainly you can do some trial and error if you want to. If it's, well, you know what, I've been having this going for a long time, or I got lots of stuff going on, then yeah, call, let's get a consult scheduled. Okay. You can call and ask for Allison. Allison's email is right here, patientcare@southriverrx.com, or you can call and ask for her. She'll get you lined up. She'll get you some forms filled, sent to you so you can get those filled out. Again, in person, we're only doing right now if you have been vaccinated. Otherwise, either phone, WebEx, or Zoom. Certainly, you can go online, order things. Like us on Facebook, like us on the variety of other social medias. All of those we're at South River RX. Take a moment, give us a review if you would. Certainly, if you have any feedback, want us to know, or have other recommendations for what else you'd like to hear, again, let us know. We appreciate the feedback, and we do look at that and certainly pay attention to that. So I know I've gone over a lot of information really pretty quick this afternoon. I would like to take some time to answer any questions you guys have. So if you have any questions, please enter questions here in the chat. I know that should be here in the chat feature, and I'll get those answered for you. Certainly, if something comes up down the line, as you know, I've got a great staff, very educated staff. You can feel free to go in the store if you don't feel like asking it today. You can go into one of our locations, and one of the staff will be more than happy to help you out. A question came in that any thoughts on sleep apnea? What if you don't go through a sleep lab or wear a mask? Well, I mean, sleep apnea certainly affects a lot of folks, right? And what's a big driving force behind sleep apnea is being overweight. What am I a huge advocate for? Losing additional fat. The leaner you are, the healthier you're going to be overall. So even if it's just 5 pounds, can that make a difference? Absolutely yes. Whether it's 5 pounds or 150 pounds, lose the extra fat. The extra fat is increasing inflammation, which is affecting absolutely everything. So lose the fat. That's going to help with the sleep apnea. If you've been diagnosed with sleep apnea and have been prescribed, um, a mask and that sort of apparatus, then absolutely wear it, use it, get used to it. Certainly, I've got reports from folks that it helps tremendously, right? If you're not getting the oxygen into the lungs, getting oxygenated, that's affecting brain function, that's affecting delta wave sleep, that's affecting that deep wave sleep. Yeah, that is absolutely a component and can be. So, yes, address it. If it's an issue, address it. Ultimately, what's behind it, though, take off the fat mass. And I'm very specific. I'm not being rude and I'm not being disrespectful. You don't want to lose muscle. You don't want to lose bone. You don't want to lose organs. You don't want to lose brain, right? What do you want to lose? Fat, plain and simple. So if you're having problems with that, again, go to our website. We've got a YouTube on that. We've got a webinar on it. If you don't see it, that one may be hidden. Some of these, we don't have all of them up there open sourced. Some of them we do have to send you the link for. So send us an email or call us or stop in the store and we'll give you the link for that. So another question came in, had been taking Ultimate Sleep Formula for a while with some dizziness, read about GABA and saw some symptoms from this, stopped it, done better. What else besides this is sleep is terrible. So again, that's why I go back. I'm gonna backspace here, right? If you've had an issue for a while, if it's as you say, sleep is freaking terrible. I've tried a lot of different things, nothing's helped. Let's look at some data, right? So let's look at these neurotransmitters, what's going on. So GABA can be too low, it can be too high. Glutamate too high, all of these can be either too low or too high, which is going to cause an issue. Same with sex hormones. You don't want them too low, you don't want them too high. Cortisol, you don't want it too high, you don't want it too low. Thyroid, not too high, not too low. It's in balance with all of these. It really is finding the balance, and it's finding your balance, and it's trying to dial that piece in. So really, I think for you, it's, you did that, it had some GABA in it, it popped your GABA up a little bit, it gave you some dizziness. So what was that, your body telling you? Hey, that's too much GABA for me, I'm already at the high side. That's not the answer for you. So, we probably need to look at dopamine, we may need to look at serotonin, certainly looking at the balance of the norepinephrine, epinephrine. So I would think on that, maybe trying that Boxley's nighttime formula, that CBD, CBN, and melatonin. That may be a thought for you as well. And certainly, I'm getting a lot of things in saying thank you. So our pleasure. Glad to do this. Certainly glad to be here. Glad to be a part of the community. We've been part of the community now for over 23 years and have appreciated everybody's support. And I've really believed in keeping everybody educated, both our patients as well as the practitioners we work with. So again, appreciate your support, appreciate you supporting a local business. So I'll give it another minute for any other questions. Certainly if something comes up afterwards, that you go, oh shoot, I meant to ask him this. Again, stop by one of the locations. Staff will help you, or give us a call or pop us an email. All right, guys, I don't see anything else. Again, Eric will send out an email probably either later tonight or tomorrow with the link and also a copy of the slides again, and also with links to the next upcoming webinars. We've really have had a pretty robust schedule with COVID because it's been great. We've been able to record it. So, for those, we typically have a whole bunch sign up, and we tell people sign up even if you can't make it. Then that way you've sent the recording. So if you're watching this afterwards and have questions, again, don't hesitate to pop into the store, give us a call, pop us an email, and let us help you with that. Another question did come in. So are we doing virtual appointments if no vaccine? Absolutely. So we do those either with this platform, WebEx, or we can also use Zoom, or of course, the phone call, right? And for those that, sometimes technology doesn't work out, we have to revert to phone. Phone's absolutely fine. So with that, I thank you all for your time and attention this afternoon. If there's anything we can do for you, please don't hesitate. If you enjoyed today, please take a moment and give us a review online. We'd greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful afternoon. Until next time.